all I gotta say is, yo, this chapter of Fairy Tale was very simple, but showcased so much. It's just, I mean, where to begin? Well, let's see. This is my review of Fairy Tale Chapter 425. It just Sabretooth X794, I think, 2, whatever. Um, Now, I just read the manga panda version, but before I did this review, I decided to also read the manga stream version just to compare to see what certain inconsistencies. And as usual, manga stream has a slightly better translation. I just am too lazy to switch over my bookmark from a manga panda to a manga stream. Go figure. Now, this chapter seemed start off on only this, the beginning only really served to put Juvia down even further. I mean, she is locked up, or not locked up, but bedridden with a fever that can't that even Wendy's healing powers can't be cured. Now it's just up to Lucy and Natsu to go search for Gray. So now, last week in our review, I was saying about how, or we were saying how that it would be interesting, or that this arc, or sorry, more specifically, I said how this villain plot of Avatar was going to bring everyone back together. But now, at least for now, this chapter is giving off the impression that it's different, and that this post time skip is going to be filled with arcs that have villains in it that are going to slowly through the arcs we're going to get Fairy Tail back, and that Avatar isn't going to, because the main reason why I say that is because Natsu and Lucy are alone going to try and go to Avatar to find Gray, and as we know, as the audience know, or the readers know, that he is there. So, and that there's going to be a fight breaking out. Now, I know Natsu's gotten stronger, much, much, much stronger. But Gray's also gotten stronger, and them two are going to be fighting by themselves, most likely. And if that's the case, then that would leave Lucy to take on the remaining members of Avatar, which wouldn't make any sense because there's no way she can handle them, even with all her training, because it's multiple opponents. And I guess you could argue that, okay, she can take on 3. Well, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, now that you think about it, um, it's can be iffy, because if mainly because of the fact that Fairy Tale is, or this chapter in particular is, the fight would be very interesting, mainly because of the fact that Fairy Tale is going to, like, how would they go about taking on this Avatar guild? Because the Avatar guild is, you know, what is, or it seems like they're not going to be able to take on this. There's no way, because this whole thing with her, it's, yes, she's gotten stronger, but that doesn't mean that she's going to be strong enough to take on all those people by herself. Because the cover page, or at least the one you see on Manga Stream, showcases what looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other people besides Gray. And if that's the case, then it would be kind of impossible. Even if she summons 3 celestial spirits, and then gives herself a power, that's only 4. That would leave 2 others besides Gray that have to be taken care of. So there's a good chance that they're going to, along the way, that there's going to be an initial encounter where they're going to not win, or at least not complete the goal entirely, and then they're going to have to all follow, try and follow them because the Avatar Guild's going to probably leave in their quote-unquote victory, and along the way they're probably going to collect some more members, but it still seems very likely that at this point, at least, that we may by the end this is going to be more like the Avatar arc or the Grey Rescue arc as opposed to the Fairy Tale Revival arc, unless you call it might be more like a Fairy Tale Revival saga, which had entitles several different arcs. And unfortunately, I don't want that to be the case because with the chapter, we have the fact that if this is the case, then that means that at best we might get only a few more members. Now, since there's 6 other people besides Gray, if Lucy takes on one of them, that would mean there's 5 left. And does that mean we could collect 5 more members to fight these other members of Avatar? Maybe. I mean, obviously Juvia is bedridden and sick because she's worried about Gray. So she's not going to fight, and Wendy's staying by her side to trying to keep her healthy, and so Charlotte and Carlos, they're not going to fight. So the question is who would be the 5 other members of Fairy Tail that are going to help join up if they do decide to pick up 5 collect 5 more members in order to fight Avatar? Who would they be? I mean, probably based on the context, it's probably going to be Urza and Gajiel with Panther Lily. Maybe Panther Lily fighting someone separately, one of the other members, or that's kind of iffy. Maybe Loxus and the Thunder Legion. Who knows? It's really up in the air at this point as to how this arc's going to go. Because at first we thought it was going to be a straightforward, revival of Fairy Tale type of thing where the guild's going to get back together and, we go through the arc slowly but surely, collect everyone back, and that there was going to be like some plot at the end, a villain plot at the end. It's, kind of like, what are they going to do? Why are they doing this? Why is he putting us through this in order to get all the members back? I mean, yes, it's going to be exciting to see how they're going to get Gray back and whatnot, but now I know I've been ranting on about the whole getting Gray back thing, but probably should get back to the rest of the chapter. Now, they go to Sabretooth in order to get information, I guess, or at least that's what Lucy thinks, and along the way they seem to be riding on a pig or boar type thing, and then what ends up happening is he turns around to Lucy to try to explain to her that he believes in Gray, and that if he wants to find the information he needs to find Gray, he's going to have to stop believing in Gray, and that until they find him, he's not going to believe in Gray, which confuses Lucy and me, because I'm guessing the best way to explain that part would be to assume that he's saying that, in order to find out every bit of information, he has to approach it like he believes that Gray is turned and that he doesn't believe in Gray's goodness, I guess. And they arrive to Sabretooth and, to try and do whatever, and Sting shows up out of nowhere and is fat. Like, really? I was extremely pissed. Like, what? Why did they just do that? Like, I know Sting and Rogue were pretty, not really that powerful in the grand scheme of things, but pretty decently powerful in their own rights. But, like, really, he friggin' did that to the one guy with the plants in Fairy Tale. Like, really, you're gonna turn on like a skinny character and make him fat? Like, really, really fat? Like, come on, really? That's just stupid. But then we have, his Frosh? Oh, no, not Frosh. Lecter is mentioning how they ask about Rogue and they find out he's gone on a mission with Minerva, and Natsu dashes after him. And before Lucy leaves, we see, Sting's returned to his skinny self, and that was because Yukino summoned Liber to use her gravity magic on him to make him skinny, which is, I still want an explanation from this, because we saw this in the Grand Magic games. Like, how is it that the gravity magic can make someone skinny? Like, did they use the gravity to push in on their fat to make them look skinny? Like, I want to know this. And so then Lucy goes after Natsu. Natsu catches up to Rogue and grabs him and just runs and says, I got to talk to him in private. You, Minerva and Frost, you stay behind. Lucy catches up, and they have a touching they talk briefly, and Minerva goes to apologize to Lucy for the events, or she asks about what happened to Sting, and we found out that a couple days ago they had a some tiger eating contest or something, and even though Minerva was the one who won, Sting was overzealous and ate too much. And of course, in anime, you know what happens when a character eats too much. They suddenly get super fat, and then not too long after they're skinny again. I wish that was the case in the real world. But anyway, and then but Lucy's like, oh, does that mean that's why? So that's why you guys didn't participate, because you were doing this thing. And they're like, oh, no, no. Minerva's like, no. Master Sting, basically said that a tournament without Fairy Tail is not worth entering. Now this is where it kind of got confusing, because in the Manga Panda version they said our master, and it made it seem, at least in the Manga Panda version, it made it seem like that Sting wasn't the master. And even though he was sort of became the master after he killed the previous master in the Grand Magic games and that whole weird thing, I don't know, that's still a little weird, but whatever. And then you have them trying to explain, he goes to explain, or ask Rogue, Natsu goes to ask Rogue for their job request that he took. And he sees that it's, basically a map to Avatar, because the request is to go take out Avatar. And so he's like, yep, I'm going to take this. Let me take this one. I'll do the mission for you. He's like, and Rogue doesn't want that. But Natsu's like, well, I'll take on the job, and in exchange, I'll give you guys the rewards. And without saying anything, they go back to Minerva. He drops off Rogue and then leaves, or he also says to Rogue, he leaves with Lucy and basically tells Rogue to not leave the city under any conditions. And then he also says to Minerva to make sure that neither he nor Frost leaves. Now this is where it gets confusing, but in between we have panels of a flashback of him remembering what Future Rogue said, and lo and behold, it was what we predicted. Even though we did hear that he was being told, we didn't realize about the events. We didn't realize, or at least he didn't originally write the entire story. This time we find out the entire, and the fact is that Future Rogue said that Frost was killed by Gray in a year's time, or at the time, it was a year from that day that incident of the dragon. So that means that we're here. This is the event that Future Rogue predicted, and this means that it's Gray's fault that the whole thing at the Grand Magic Games happened. That the whole thing with Future Rogue, it happened because of Gray. He killed Frost, or at least he's supposed to, and that's why Natsu's freaked out, and as soon as he heard about Gray, went to Sabretooth, because he wants to make sure that Frost stays alive, so that way Rogue doesn't turn evil, and this whole thing doesn't happen. So now we are left with that, Natsu and Lucy alone are going to confront Avatar, where, as we know, as the readers, that's where Gray is. So this is why so it's going to be interesting, like I said earlier, to see what happens. What is Gray going to do? What is Natsu going to do? And how are they going to take out Avatar? Or is somehow Natsu and Lucy going to be able to, get through to Gray without having to actually defeat the other Avatar members? So it's definitely going to be interesting. This chapter was I believe was a very good chapter. It showcased, the new looks of the important semi-new looks, I should say, of the main Sabretooth members. I mean, um, the Thunder God, the Thunder God, the Lightning God Slayer, and the Memory Make guy. They don't really seem that different. Yukino has slightly different, but mainly seems like the same, busty as ever. And then you have Minerva, but Sting, he looks pretty much, once they made him skinny again, he looked pretty much the same. The only ones who really had a somewhat different look was Minerva and Rogue. And I like that. Now that Minerva's not like an evil, conniving little bitch, she actually looks pretty cute, good looking. And Rogue's growing his hair out, similar to that of, what Future Rogue looked like, but not quite there yet. But hopefully he's not going to get there. So this has been a good review or good chapter, and I just hope that you guys uh, tune in for next week for next week's review of Fairy Tale chapter. Was it 426? Dark Curse, Dark Heart, whatever the hell. Anyway, see you guys next week.
Alright, so I'm going to try to make this pretty quick, but no guarantees. This chapter, I'm going to actually give this actually a good chapter rating for once in a while. I don't usually give higher ratings to a fairy tale chapter, but this time around it was pretty good. Let's see. The main reason is because of the whole Future Rogue thing, where we get to see the fact that, Future Rogue warned Natsu about something which we talked about last week, and it turned out to be Gray, as we had theorized. Even though it wasn't really our theory, we kind of talked about it and sort of made sense of it, and it turned out to be true. And I did say last week, I said that would be cool. I would give props to Mashima if he did that. I don't know if those were my words exactly, but I am giving props to Mashima because he did that. Okay, so, man of my word. I don't know. I'm a dude of my word. I don't know. I liked it a lot. I really did. So anyway, let's see what. Oh, Fat Sting. Fat Sting was great. I thought it was pretty funny. Just the art was good. And then Yukino was able to slim him down. But she could have done that at any time. But obviously, we wanted to see Sting at that, whatever. I thought it was. It didn't really add or take away from anything in the story, but I liked it. It was. It was just funny. I don't know. It was just comic relief. So, Minerva has been completely converted by Erza Scarlet Uzumaki Fanalis, and now she's like super nice, and she's apologizing to Lucy about beating the shit out of her in the Grand Magic Games. It's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry the second half was so shitty. What she really was apologizing for was the fact that she lost to Erza. Like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Lucy, because I made your manga look like absolute shit because I couldn't beat Erza. But to be fair, nobody can beat her when she gets into that plot armor state. And Lucy's like, yeah, don't worry about it. So, anyway. There's a little Nalu moment, sort of. At least at Dick tease. I don't know. And then Lucy's like, turn your ass around, you idiot, and just slaps him. I mean, their position was kind of, well, they've been in more sexual positions, so that's besides the point. Yukino, I don't give a shit about. Orga was there. So was Rufus. So I think that's all of them. It didn't seem like there were any Fairy Tail members there. which I was kind of surprised at. Kind of. I was kind of expecting maybe, I don't know, one of them to be there. I don't know. Maybe Kana, or maybe Kana's with the uh, the guy who can outdrink her. I that wasn't Mermaid Heel, was it? Quattro Puppy, I think, or whatever. Quattro Cerberus, I think is the original name. And but yeah, the main point about this was really, the fact that Natsu tells Rogue not to go on this mission with Frosh, and um, because of the fact that Gray is the one that kills Frosh in the future, which was 1 year's time, which is now in the present. So we'll see what happens there. Would be interesting if Gray still does kill him. I doubt it's gonna happen, but Rogue looking awesome as usual. Minerva looking as disproportionate as usual. But yeah, I mean that's basically the chapter. It was a good chapter. I mean, for once, Mashima put out some quality. Hopefully he keeps it. I don't know.